According to Canuck and Garrison, a worthwhile learning experience needs to focus on both the learner's personal internal world and their shared external world. The external constructs are those in which students participate with others, while the internal constructs are those over which students have personal control. Discourse is often used when an instructor has a particular pedagogical goal in mind. Through our face-to-face discussions, we're able to guide students toward the learning we want them to achieve. In the online environment, however, we must rely on the discussion boards to achieve this goal. By posting relevant questions, allowing students to dialogue, and guiding them as needed, we can achieve the same goals. It's important for us as instructors not to overstep and dominate the discussion boards. Being an active participant in the discussion boards can be both good and bad. According to Canuck and Garrison, some students find an overly active instructor detrimental to the success of a discussion because students may stop dialoguing if they know the instructor will step in and fill the missing pieces. It's up to us to know when intercession is necessary and when to stand back and let students work through difficult concepts. If it becomes necessary to stimulate a particular element of the discussion, that's when the instructor needs to assist in or guide the discussion. This can be done effectively by posing additional guiding questions. Rather than telling students what you want them to know, pose a new question designed to stimulate their critical thinking skills. Give them just enough information to start thinking, but not so much that you answer the question for them. If you can master this technique, you'll be regularly posting questions of emerging relevance and will continue to ensure student engagement with the discourse. Lastly, it's important students feel safe and secure within the discussion environment. They need to know the discussions will be treated fairly and that all are welcomed and encouraged to participate. There will be more information on this topic as you move into your discussion of the social presence. Collaboration and management are the other two elements present within the external constructs. Research shows students who engage in collaborative learning environments think more critically, display more creativity, and are more agile when it comes to integrating their work into that of others. They also tend to learn new material faster and retain more of that information. There is a correlation between increased levels of interaction and overall student success. Students also expressed a desire for an instructor to be available to them. We may not necessarily consider this type of interaction an example of collaboration, but when you think about it, students are working in conjunction with their instructor to master the materials, so it is a collaborative exchange. Intellectual engagement with the content is also an important element of collaboration. When students are able to engage with the material, they are more invested in the learning process. By giving your students access to material they find intellectually engaging and challenging, they'll work more collaboratively to produce the best product they can. Management refers to the student's ability to effectively focus their efforts and self-manage their learning process. The first element of management is the desire of students to articulate their ideas. They want to be able to share their thoughts and be heard by the group. As part of a collaborative learning community, students need to feel their ideas are valued by others. This enables them to participate in the learning experience more fully. Students also feel it's important to identify their own strengths as well as those of their classmates. When it comes to collaboration, knowing where your strengths are is integral to ensuring you are providing the most you can for your team. It's also important to know where the strengths of others are when it comes to delegating group activities and responsibilities. Students also want to be able to establish and identify learning goals. Having a shared understanding of where the project needs to go and how each member will contribute to the collaboration are essential to any successful collaborative effort. By managing the group on their own, students are able to manage accountability issues as well. They're responsible to one another. There's nothing quite so intimidating as an angry group of classmates who've been counting on you to meet your obligations to the rest of the group. This is an extremely effective tool in the management toolbox. Students are also able to maintain their focus because they are working on a particular element of a project rather than trying to do it all themselves. This allows them to hone in on what requires their attention and, hopefully, produce a much higher level product in the end. Students construct knowledge in two different ways. First, they can base their learning through the actual experiencing of a phenomenon. Through active participation in a process, students are able to understand the ways in which a process works and then take that knowledge and construct an understanding of what they've learned. The second manner through which students can learn is reflecting on a phenomenon. In both cases, the learning must be relevant to the students. They need to see and understand the connection between their world and the learning taking place. In the case of reflection, students need to be free to determine the relevance to their own worlds. They should be able to generalize and transfer abstracted information, act on it, and then reflect on their own actions. As a student reflects on his learning, he should be encouraged to articulate his approach through the use of reasoning and language appropriate to his discipline. He should also be open to accepting feedback and evaluation, as both are means through which instructors push students to challenge their own thinking and grow as learners. Feedback and evaluation can help students make deeper, more meaningful connections to their own learning. As an instructor, it's also important for you to choose your words carefully, both when creating your reflective activities and when you're providing feedback to students. Closed-ended basic questions do not prompt students to think more deeply or move toward higher-order thinking. Instead, they can write short, cursory responses that fully answer a question without having to think too hard. The ways in which you word your questions will determine the level of engagement students have with the reflective process. Lastly, the ways in which you provide feedback and evaluate the students' reflections will play a role in their engagement with the reflective process. Remember, reflection is a personal process. Your role is to guide the students to deeper levels of meaning, not to tell them their ideas are right or wrong. That doesn't mean you can't question their thought process or help them examine some aspect of the reflection they may not have considered. However, you don't want students penning responses simply to please you. If that happens, the students aren't making meaning that's relevant to themselves, and the purpose of the reflective thinking is defeated.